Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're having a good day and a good week. We are live on the Status Network. We are definitely live on the Status Network, the Lyve TV channel. This is the Conversation Corner with your host, author Andrew Snorton. And a couple of quick things before we go ahead and get started with our interviews and our show for tonight. We're excited to have you as a part of today's live broadcast. And we hope that you feel welcome and you'll enjoy your time with us. And here's some information that will definitely assist you. To make sure to view not only this show, but any of our shows, download the Status Network app on your Google Play or Apple Store. Also, make sure to log in to statusnetwork.net in order to go ahead and watch this live. And if you're not a fan of me, you need to make sure you are. So that will be author Andrew Snorton on Facebook, where we're streaming live, as well as my Instagram at author A Snorton. So after taking care of a few house cleaning tips, oh my goodness, y'all, think about, we've got Black Moon playing in the background and what have you. And as we go ahead and transition, our first guest, Tiffany Boyd, and I'll just say well-rounded, versatile. You've got a lot of different things going on, so welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here. So happy to be here.
Hey, likewise. We're happy you got here. I mean, this rain is not the business.
Yeah, it's crazy out there. It really is.
Well, Tiffany, before we really dig deep into all the different things you've got going on, let our viewers know basically a little bit about your journey, like where you started and a couple of key stops along the way.
All right. Well, my journey started being born in Detroit.
Okay.
Then I grew up in Chicago, and I got to Atlanta in '99 and went to Clark Atlanta University. And my journey really with getting to where I am today started there, because I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I first got there. I just knew I wanted to be involved with sports. And I knew I also wanted to be involved with a major that will lead me into a career that I can make good money.
Okay, so yeah. Basically it was the balance of pursuing your passion, but also making sure pursuing something of interest.
Exactly.
Tell us a little bit more about your sports experience, because there are people that are like, oh, I'm fans of this, fans of that, but you actually have hands-on experience with sports. Share that with your, share that with our audience.
Well, I grew up playing basketball. I played basketball all throughout elementary school, junior high, high school, and I also played on the high school USA team in Europe, and we played overseas for about a month. And when I got to Clark Atlanta, I ended up playing softball. And so playing that, I knew after college I wasn't going to the Olympics or anything like that. So I was trying to figure out, because I knew I had a passion for sports, what avenue I could go in. And I watch every sport. I mean, from basketball to football to the Olympics to hockey to baseball, everything. X Games, I'm watching it all.
So it's almost like the whole, I don't want to say, well, yeah, the little bit of the sports junkie, the gym rat, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So tell us this, as you had that experience growing up, your collegiate experience, early on, how were you able to blend or merge what you're doing professionally as well as still maintaining that passion?
You always have to find a balance. I mean, because dealing with sports, that's 100% my passion. And so I say right now, I say to everybody, yeah, engineering is paying the bills, but you know, once my sports career is really taking off, engineering is probably going to end up taking a backseat, because right now I can do both, but eventually I may be to a point where I can't do both. And so right now I'm blessed to be at a point where I have time to do my engineering, and I also have time for my sports career. And so finding a balance, it's important.
Tell us a little bit about your sports career, because it sounds like you've got your blueprint. You're obviously paying attention to detail, being strategic. What are some things that you have done that's helped you strengthen your I'll say sports career, especially in sports media, sports journalism?
Yeah, I was a part of the Sports Roundtable radio show for 4 years. We started off as a podcast, then we got picked up by Lyve Internet Radio, and then we got picked up to be on 1100 AM radio, and we were on there for a while. And once and actually the show was still there, but I took a leave of absence because I'm in the process of trademarking my sports name, which will be officially released in the Trademark Gazette on November 27th. And then my next stop is TV. So that's where I'm at right now. So once my name is trademarked, I'll be kicking off my website, because in the trademark process, they really didn't want me to use the name because they're searching all over the world if it's being used by anyone. So I couldn't really use the name. So as soon as I get published in the Trademark Gazette, I can kick off my website to where I'll be doing basically what I was doing on the Sports Roundtable show with my own segments and different sports news every day, and I'll upload articles and different stuff like that.
So it sounds like really it's been strategic growth. It's one of those things, okay, you have the passion, but now how do you make something, for lack of a term, abstract, a lot more concrete? And it's like you're putting together what you've done podcast-wise, radio-wise, and now bridging the gap in regards to television. Tell us what we all have challenges. What would you say is a challenge that you have experienced, but it's helped make you even stronger in regards to the work that you're trying to do?
I would say just being able to get myself out there so I can get picked up, to have the opportunities to be on radio and stuff like that. That's just the biggest thing is exposure. Like, people have to see who I am, know what I can do, know that I actually sound like I know what I'm talking about. So that's why I think that my next step, doing the website, will be a great thing, because if I'm uploading videos on there every single day talking about sports, the people will be able to see me, and they'll be able to listen to what I'm saying and see content that I'm posting to see that, okay, she knows what she's talking about.
Well, I mean, and to the degree, and I know I've got a different point of reference, it's like people who have engaged with you know that you've got a strong point of reference based on your, like I said, your high school experience, your collegiate experience, different events that you've covered. What would you say, as you're putting everything together, what would you say would be that next opportunity, those next set of opportunities that not only continues to help you build your brand and just even further reinforce your credibility? What would be the types of things you'd want to see yourself doing?
I am probably going to really get crazy and step outside the box and basically put a bunch of shows that I've done on a USB drive and literally show up to like Fox Sports, CBS Sports, TNT Sports. Like, I'm that girl. Like, I'll put all my stuff on a USB drive and show up with a resume and say, here I am. I'll be an asset. Trust me.
Well, and you know what? But sometimes you follow a template, and sometimes you have to create your own. And
Absolutely.
It almost sounds like you're finding that happy medium. Like, you can't always be on one end of the spectrum,
right?
But you can't always operate on the other. And it comes back to one of the things that jumps out at me is versatility.
Yeah.
And you were giving your timeline regarding the different types of sports that you've watched, some of the different events that you've covered. What would you say, through it all, there's always, I guess, like that moment where you pivot and you know for sure this is where you want to be. Can you recall, as part of your journey, part of your, I'll say, your sports media timeline, was there an event or a key set of events that you can look back to that really, you have this passion, you're thinking you have this passion, but what would you say really cemented that, you know what, I really need to invest more in this?
Actually, the first day I ended up on the Sports Roundtable show, I was actually just going to the show just to meet the guys, say hi, and maybe just hang out with them and help them out from time to time. And it just so happened that one of the guys that was a part of the show, he had to be out of town and he couldn't make it. And so the producer, he said, he's like, I'll tell you this, if you want to be a part of this show, sit in his seat tonight and do the entire show with us, and then we'll talk afterwards. And I did an hour-long sports show with them, talking sports, and after that show, the looks on their faces, because I was around the table with 3 grown men, and so the looks on their faces afterwards, the look of shock that they couldn't believe that I just did that, I knew, I'm like, okay, I was made for this.
That's speaking volumes in regards to again, you just went ahead, kind of like you were just talking about walking around with your flash drive. You're like, bump it. That was your flash drive. When you really sit back and think about it. And another thing is this, and the beautiful thing about with what you're doing, it's a combination of, like I said, your expertise and experience and your knowledge base, being dedicated to your craft.
Mm-hmm.
And it's twofold, because I'm sure there are folks in sports media, sports journalism, that you're like, you know what, these are people, when I see their professionalism, how well prepared they are.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'll get to a couple of people who I think that you have in mind that, yeah, these are folks who are setting the template, but you also know if what you're doing, you're making it possible for the next generation of folks, not just sports media, but just media in general. Who would you say right now, and I'm sure it's probably a big universe, but who would be 3 people right now when you're surveying the sports media, sports journalism landscape, that you're like, you know what, these are folks that I would, enjoy the opportunity to engage with, connect with, not only pick their brain, pick their brain, but also who I could possibly collaborate with?
The first one I would say, Jalen Rose, number one. I love the way, he's on so many different sports talk shows, like, just to begin with, but the way that he articulates and gets his points across, it's in a very professional way that you can understand what he's saying. And I like the words that he uses to describe different plays, different athletes, just the way he is overall. I would definitely, like, I probably listen to him every single day.
Okay.
Just to kind of learn and listen to his style and the way he responds to different things and the way he does his sports analyst jobs.
Okay, so Jalen Rose is one.
Mm-hmm.
Who would be a second person that you're like, yeah, this is one of those people?
I would have to say Erin Andrews, because she shows up in different sports as an analyst. She's just not solely on football. She shows up in baseball, shows up at college games. Like, she shows up everywhere. So I would have to say her too.
Okay, so you've got Jalen Rose,
Yeah.
who definitely, if people track his career and track his progress, he is really exponentially grown by leaps and bounds.
Mm-hmm.
Erin Andrews, definitely you'd have to say in the last 15, 20 years, one of those key people that you're used to seeing and used to having an expectation of a solid command.
Mm-hmm.
Who would be that third person?
Doris Burke.
Really?
Yeah, she's a legend. She's a legend. Like, she's been around the NBA forever, and she's respected. She's well known. She understands the game. She's a legend. She's a legend.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you've got folks who not only have shown progression
Yeah.
in their field,
Mm-hmm.
but also are able to cover multiple sports
Mm-hmm.
with I'm not going to say seamless, but just being very fluid.
Yeah, because that's what I want to do. Like, throw me in the Olympics. I'll talk about whatever. I'll talk about the beach volleyball. Whatever. Like, I can be multifaceted like that and talk about any sport.
And one of those things, and hopefully the viewers can catch it. I can catch it from my vantage point. There's just like this presence that you really have. Like, and I'll tell you what it is. It's where people show their passion in different ways, shapes, and forms. Some people
True.
are like the rah, rah, rah. Some people are real subdued, but it's almost like you're right in the middle. Like, you can tell you've got that little bit of an edge,
Yeah.
but you're not going to go over the top. It's one of those, I can go there if I want
Very
to.
true.
But I'm just going to, it's almost like the whole spoon feeding. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to cram it down your throat, but just know that I can.
Yeah.
Or another good analogy for our card players out there, it's one of those, if you've ever played spades and you can do a 10 for 2.
Yeah.
So what you do is, like, you let your partner win with like a jack,
Yeah.
and everybody knows, oh, it's a wrap. Like, it's over. It is completely over.
Yep.
But you can sense like that energy, that passion, the understanding, and the presence of mind. And it's like, I'm going to tell you how it is, but I'll tell it in a credible, accessible manner that, yeah, we're going to continue to have a conversation. So, I can tell it, and hopefully our viewers can tell it out there as well.
Good observation.
I'm trying. That's why I'm sitting in here. So as we have a couple moments before we transition, you've talked a lot about, what you're doing sports journalism wise. Let's slightly pivot back in regards to, for lack of a term, what's paying the bills. And one of those key things that jumps out at me is and I know people are saying you find something you're good at, etc. But what would you say was your draw in your primary field? Like, of all the reasons why, this is the reason why I'm here.
It's a funny story. When I first got to Clark Atlanta, my major was computer science. And that spring break, my freshman year, me and some of my softball teammates, we went to Orlando for spring break, and we were at an amusement park, and I found myself just standing in front of a roller coaster, staring at it, and I stood there for probably about 10 minutes, and then one of my teammates came over to me, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "You know what, when we get back to school, I'm changing my major. I want to design stuff." I was like, "I want to be an engineer, because ultimately, I think I want to design roller coasters." And when we got back, I changed my major.
Wow. So just think, a trip to Six Flags or an amusement park basically just changed your life.
It really did.
But you know what? Everybody's moment, and I know, like in education, we talk about hook and hold.
Yeah.
That was your hook and hold moment, and everybody's moment is different. So as we're getting ready to bridge this segment to a close, and before we pivot and pause and all that type of thing, what are going to be the best ways for our viewing audience to connect and just keep track of what you're doing and track of your growth and your progression?
Yeah, they can follow me on all social media platforms at Tiff Get Familiar.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you heard it. This is someone you definitely want to get familiar with.
Get familiar with your girl.
See, that's why I'm sitting here,
Get familiar with your girl.
Hey, miracles happen every day. So we're going to make sure after we pause and after our next segment, we're going to make sure to bring you back for our group roundtable and taking calls. But Tiffany, thank you for taking and making the time, for sharing your story. As we tell anybody, seriously, continued well wishes. Keep chipping away. And remember, folks, this is someone you want to get familiar with. So Tiff Get Familiar. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So make it happen.
Absolutely.
So at this point in time, we're going to take a slight pause for the cause. And when we come back, we'll have our next guest here on the Conversation Corner. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back live on the Status Network, on the Lyve TV channel. This is Conversation Corner with your host, author Andrew Snorton. And right on the heels of a great first interview, you know what, we're looking forward to an equally great interview with one of the truly great people that I know who you know, has this little air of mystery and excitement about them just in regards to their travels and whatnot. This is Miss Tarsha Chambers. Miss Chambers, how are you doing this fine evening?
I am wonderful. I'm blessed, and thank you for having me.
Well, you are
excited to be here.
You know what? I said to myself, who else would I want to make sure to speak with? And it really is a blessing. So, Miss Chambers, as with any of our guests, you've got some amazing moving parts that are going on. You make it look so flawless and fluid, and like you just snap your fingers and the magic happens. Share with us a little bit first about your journey in regards to how did you get here? That's the proverbial. How did you get here?
Great question. My journey, I think, has been one that I've enjoyed because I've learned a lot of things along the way. So my background is in legal studies and also education. I decided to get advanced degrees in education because I knew that was going to be my path, and that has really been very promising. I've developed some great relationships along the way and been able to help people, and I love being of service to people. So I knew ultimately whatever I did, it had to relate to being of service to people. Just like others who are in sororities and fraternities, it's part of our makeup. It's our DNA. It's what we do. So when I decided that I wanted to transition into entrepreneurship, which has always been a passion, I knew it would still be something that was related as well to the field of service.
Okay, and in saying that, what would you say was that moment where you knew that this was the time for you to pivot into those next steps?
Oh, that's a great question. I speak to friends about this often, and the term I use is waiting. It's because I think we're always waiting until that ideal moment. That ideal moment doesn't exist. There's no perfect time. I think what you have to do is make sure your preparation is in place and that you have a great cohort of supporters around you, and that you are ready to make the leap, and you do that. And the reason I say that is because if you keep waiting, what are you doing in the interim? Do you want to be satisfied with living the mediocre life that you really were not destined to live? And when we talk of passions and talents, when you merge those two and really understand that the larger contribution that you make is really what helps you be successful, then you know that you're really on the right track. And for me, I believe like you really have to put in that work every day for your success. And a lot of people think and they ask questions about, well, when you make it and when you do it, it's not a destination. You keep paying rent every day, every single day. You keep paying rent because you never actually reach the destination. It's a continuous journey. So I'm just having fun along my journey and meeting some wonderful people and have great friends in my life like you. So it's been exciting. Well, it has been. So the transition was pretty easy for me.
Wow. And you said a lot, and I think it's one of those, to a degree, it is the proverbial leap of faith, but it's a strategic leap.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
In regards to your strategic leap, there's really two wonderful strands that you're already embarking on. Share with us a little bit about both of those key, I'll say, cogs or spokes in the wheel.
Sure. Well, the event design and management business has really been great. I've always loved interior design. And I think my first love came when I bought my first house. I feel like that time was one in which I knew in order to build sustained wealth, I had to look at some different avenues. And being young and in Mississippi at the time, there's not really, I would say, many resources for people who were my age, especially just getting out of college. But I realized at that time that I will always have to have this as a constant in my life. So with my event planning business, it is an easy, I would say, marriage of the two with my real estate company as well. Because with both, I have an opportunity to actually help people make memorable or make memories, I guess I should say, and have wonderful experiences. Because for me, it's not about selling someone something. We all have been to events. We all go to events, and some are great, some not so memorable. But of course, what makes them so special would be the memories that people are able to make. And for me, that's what I focus on in my business, is how can people walk away from your event and feel like they're already ready for the next one because of the experience that they had.
That's saying a lot. And we know that there's always an element of service with what we do business-wise, community-wise, what have you. And one of the things you really, to a degree, answered that are regarding the positive takeaways.
Yes.
So people know what to expect. They know what to look out for, but the focus is on if you're taking care of that key thing, the other things are going to take care of themselves.
Absolutely.
And sometimes we get the order reversed. I mean, it does happen. What would you say, and you've got a great perspective, what would you say is one of the things that allows you to maintain your perspective? Because even the strongest of us have a moment or two. That's the rumor that I hear. That's what I hear. But what would you say? You spelled out your focus, you spelled out your philosophy, but what would you say puts you in a position to maintain your poise, maintain your cool? What are some of the things that you see, all right, even though I know this is kind of going off script, what do I need to do to bring it back, and what do I need to do to maintain my focus so I'm making sure to do really the most credible and successful job possible?
Absolutely. Great question. And I know sometimes I'm teased by you about this, and that I always seem like everything, that everything is okay. I will tell you that if you are a leader, you always have to make sure, and I think people can have leadership roles in many different capacities. Leadership is not about position. So I think with any type of leadership role that you have, you always have to make sure that you're able to maintain that consistency for people, that you're able to make sure you are in control of a situation, you're able to manage whatever the situation is. And that's what I try to always do in my business. So even if something is chaotic behind the scenes, no one would probably ever know. Things don't get to me very easily because my faith is very strong in knowing that some things really are just not that big. They're really not that important. And I think sometimes we allow things that are a priority for us at the time to outweigh things that really are important. And if it's really not important, you really have to balance that at that time. So for me, it's easy because I always keep in perspective about what's really important, what my value system is, because that really shapes my decisions and really does shape some decisions that impact my behaviors, I would say, daily. So I would say for me, the being cool part is easy because I keep in perspective what's important at the time, and that also if I'm going to lead and impact others, I have to be able to do that in a calm way, in a way that reassures them that regardless of the situation, you still have an opportunity to come out of the situation, I won't say unharmed, but better. And that's really the focus, is how can we come out of this situation even better.
And I'll tell you what, that narrative, especially with what you're doing, anytime in real estate, whether buyers, agent, I'm sure hours of entertainment is an understatement, but anytime in real estate, with that being such a big investment, that's one of the things that people need, that reassurance. So within the umbrella of what you're doing real estate-wise, share with our viewers, what are some of the key services that you provide under that real estate umbrella?
Sure. I really like to think of it as a boutique type of service, because a lot of times I think agents and others might focus on the bottom line, the dollar value. Anyone can sell, well, most people can sell things. And it's not about that, because you have to keep in mind that not only is this probably the largest asset anyone will ever have in their life, it's also very meaningful and very special to them. For many people, this might be the first home that anyone in their family has had in generations, and you have to keep that in mind when you work with people. So what I bring to them is a reassurance that I am your advocate first. So don't worry about the lack of knowledge, because I'm going to help you with that. So as your advocate, I really want to make sure that whatever your real estate goals are, that you're able to meet those, whether you're an investor or you're a buyer or you're a seller. All of your goals will be different depending on where you are and what your position is in relation to whatever the transaction is. But regardless of your position with the transaction, it matters whether or not you feel like a person can totally trust what you are doing and advocating on their behalf. So for my clients, I reassure them, first of all, that that's what I'll bring to them, and that I also bring transparency. They don't have to worry about my not being open with them.
Well, wow, that says a lot, and you can see how that focus, that mindset helps in just about any aspect of real estate. Share with us also, under the event planning umbrella, what's at least one, I'll say, you talked about the takeaway, but what are some of the services that you provide under that?
Sure. It really varies. It's the best way I like to think of it is like a la carte. There are some people who have weddings and need services for event management and design and planning and providing decor. Some people might need it for engagement parties. Some might need it for a celebration of yourself. We do that as well. It's okay to celebrate yourself. So we really provide, I would say, a diverse range of services with event planning, from parties to receptions to book signings for authors.
Oh, book signings for authors, gee. Oh, see when I talk about people being fluid and transparent, gee, I wonder who you're talking about. I wonder who that could be.
I wonder as
I
well.
wonder, yeah, amazing. Who could it be? Yeah, I'm sure the audience probably figure it out. So as we get ready to kind of draw this, bridge this gap, and before we come back for our combined session, let the viewers know what are the best ways to get in contact with you, not only to keep track of the work that you're doing, but definitely look. I've gee, if you need an endorsement, gosh, I can speak to a couple of things.
Well, thank you.
But please go ahead and share with our viewers.
Sure. I can be, and I say reached, but I can be engaged via these social media platforms, because I don't want people just to contact me. I want you to engage with me. So let's have a conversation, provide feedback, give me input. But they can engage with me, Facebook and social media, and either one is okay, because I actually am in charge of both. So you can contact me Facebook or Instagram for my real estate company at the Chambers Realty Group. If you want to contact me for the event design company, it's Hannah Roof Designs. Also, my website as well is hannahroofdesigns.com, as well as the chambersrealtygroup.com. So they can email me from the website if they like. They can also contact me via Facebook or Instagram.
Okay, well, you heard it directly here. And what we're going to do at this point in time is we're going to take a quick pause for the cause, and we come back. We're going to bring both of our guests back on for a quick Q&A. We'll also go ahead, and this is your opportunity to go ahead and do your call in, and you may call to ask them questions, which I would encourage you do.
We'd love to talk to you.
Definitely. So we're going to take a pause, but take down this number, area code 470-251-4343. We're going to pause for a quick moment. When we come back, we'll bring both of our guests back for our extended Q&A and a chance for you to call in.
And we are back on the Status Network on the Live TV channel, The Conversation Corner with your host, author Andrew Snorton. And I tell you what, it is always a blessing to meet and connect with some wonderful people. I am, you know what? Favor ain't fair. That's all I'm going to say.
I love that saying, for real.
I know, right?
That's all I'm going to say.
I'd rather have favor any day.
So we've got Ms. Boyd and Ms. Chambers back on. And again, to call in at 470-251-4343. Ladies, first off, both of you have your share of moving parts that you're taking care of. You're handling them with a great level of expertise, detail, focus, but perspective is one of those themes that came out. And Tiffany, I want to ask you, in regards to maintaining your poise and perspective during your journey, what are some key, what's a key lesson? I know there's always a lesson that we learn, but what would you say, what is a solid lesson that you've learned that you try to incorporate, for what you're doing sports-wise as well as professionally?
Always maintain your peace, because it's your most important asset. And people that really know me have probably heard me say that at least 100 times in the last few months, because once you realize that your peace is your most important asset, like, you're not going to let what people have to say, what somebody's doing in front of you, you're not going to let that be disrupted. Because you have your focus on what you're doing, where the goal that you're trying to reach, and you're going to stay going that direction. You're not going to let nobody derail you.
That is saying a lot, and that ties with one of the things that you're saying too in regards to perspective, where things at the moment seem like they're really that big, but it's almost like you have an inherent understanding when something happens or when something pops off. It's like, let me just let the smoke clear, because in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not as big a deal. Where would you say that you really we all hear that, but when would you say that you really, quote, learned it and ultimately incorporated it?
Wow, I'm still a work in progress. So,
we all are, yeah.
We all are, yes. We all are.
So we have our moments, but what I will say to you is one thing that is really on my heart about vision. It sort of speaks to what you say about your peace. When people are saying things about what you're doing, is a lot of times people don't understand your vision is because it's not intended for them to understand.
Absolutely.
So you have to be able to quiet what the loud whispers are that you hear, and sometimes they might be very vocal. You have to be able to quiet that and really stay in tune with your spirit, because sometimes people will sway you because their understanding of your vision is not something they'll ever comprehend, because they're not intended to. So you have to be very careful of who you share that with and who you invite into that space. But for me, the way that I maintain it is that my inner peace definitely comes from the faith that I have. It keeps me calm even in crises, if that makes sense. And sometimes people don't understand that.
They really
like,
don't.
Why are you still smiling? And, oh my gosh, I probably would be so over that. Well, probably so. But when you have that inner peace and know that regardless of what happens, is that some things are beyond your control and it's intended to be. So I will influence what I can, and I will try to control what I can, but I will accept everything else that I can't, and then have peace through it. Because ultimately though, if you handle your valleys the right way, then you won't have issues. Part of the problem comes in when you don't handle your valleys the right way. When you're in the valley, sometimes it's tough.
That's good.
So how you go through it is really going to make the difference.
That's good. That's
Be happy in the valleys just like you are when you're at the mountains.
And in hearing that and really listening to that, it really explains a lot regarding both of you and regarding your pivotal moments into your current pursuits. And also, it's one of those understandings of where you are now isn't where you're always going to be. One of the things that you mentioned earlier is, based on you working your plan and working your vision, you're anticipating a certain decision coming up on the horizon. You don't know when, but you know it's coming. And it's kind of the same thing on your end, where you know it's going to happen. And it's just kind of so, and I say that to say the perspective that both of you are sharing, it's one of those, all right, I know that there are going to be hurdles that pop up. That's just part of the journey. Regardless of what it is, it's part of the journey, and you know that when they pop up, if anything, it helps you reinforce your vision. And both of you, you can gather that real easily in regards to what you're doing. And this is one of those, and we always get these questions when we're younger, where do you see yourself in a certain number of years? And of course, we don't necessarily know the answer, but it's kind of cool to throw it out there because it's still giving you something to think about, and it's reinforcing the fact that, you know, I'm good where I am, but I know this isn't where I always want to be. So 2 years down the road, you're maintaining your vision, you're maintaining your peace, you're maintaining your purpose, you're maintaining your perspective. 2 years from now, where are you envisioning it taking you?
Y'all are going to turn on your TV on Sunday and see me sitting at the table on NFL Countdown, or you going to turn on your TV or see me sitting at the table at ABC NBA Countdown. Yeah, that's where you're going to see me. Y'all going to turn on your TV and see me sitting at the table with all those dudes talking about sports.
And I say that, and I'm saying that to say one of the more contemporary examples, and I'm sure you've done a little bit of research, is on L. Duncan. Because if you know how L. Duncan got started, it wasn't through conventional means.
It was not.
It was not. And I say that to say that, don't get me wrong, convention has its place. There's nothing wrong with it. But it ties in with one of the things we talked about in your interview. You just have that, I can go this end of the spectrum and do a great job at it, but I can also go to this end of the spectrum too. So it's like, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
So,
and I follow Elle for a very long time. So I've seen her grow and become to where she's at right now. So it's just more motivation for me. Like every time I see her post a pic or something on the ESPN set, I'll be like, yep, just wait. I'm about to be doing the same thing.
So you're coming.
It's just, I'm coming.
You're coming.
Oh, I'm coming.
You're coming.
It's motivation, man. Let's go.
Where do you see 2 years?
Oh, wow, great question. Still growing, I will say that. But I will say not only an expansion of my businesses, but also other streams, because that's what I'm looking to as well. I am finishing that book. I know Drew has been on me about that, but I definitely believe as well, you can't birth something if it's not ready for the experience of the world in its best form. So I definitely want to make sure that when they experience it, it's going to be in the best form. But definitely doing more speaking and more writing in the next couple of years as well, and just continue to grow.
Okay. Nice. And as we get ready to continue to bridge, real quick, let people know again the best ways for people to engage with you.
I would love to engage with you. So, yes, make sure that you contact me via Facebook or Instagram or even via my website. I would absolutely love to hear from you. And you can reach me at the Chambers Realty Group. And that's Facebook and Instagram. And of course, the website for that is thechambersrealtygroup.com. You can also reach me Facebook and Instagram for my event planning business. It's Hannah Roof Designs. And then the website for that is thehannahroofdesigns.com. I would love to hear from you and also to partner with you.
Awesome. And then Tiffany, the best ways for people to, and I'm borrowing that, to engage with you.
I like that.
That's okay.
Engage
Look,
with me.
We're partners. We are partners in this, right? So now it belongs to all of us.
Yes. You can engage with me at Tip Get Familiar on all social media platforms. Tip Get Familiar with your girl.
Well, having said all that, I guess as we get ready to start to wind this down, here are some ways that you can engage with me, which I hope you would. First off, real quick on the book end, for those of you who are in Bluffton, South Carolina, which is just outside of Savannah, Georgia, I'll be there this Saturday, November 17th, as one of the participating authors in the Bluffton Book Festival. I want to give a shout to the folks at Rome High School who were kind enough to invite me yesterday to serve as their speaker, and thank you to all the staff administration, the parents, and they turned their surveys in pretty quick. So sometimes you get a little bit nervous, but they invited me back. So look forward to being back up there. The best ways to keep track and engage with me would be Facebook at the author page, author Andrew Snorton, Twitter and Instagram, author A Snorton. YouTube is also author A Snorton. And of course, here on the Conversation Corner, as we air every second and fourth Wednesday. Just a couple other quick notes as we've got a couple of minutes. Definitely, you guys have seen a couple of real neat things going on with the sports ticker going on below. So this is just a message to people out there. We've got great people from across the board that are getting some great exposure. So if that's something you want to take advantage of, you definitely want to get in contact with me, not only through the means I mentioned, but also through email, authorsnorton@gmail.com. So we've brought on so far with our first two shows some people doing some wonderful things in business, community advocacy, sports, and a couple other things. This is the type of thing that we're going to bring each and every second and fourth Wednesday from 7 to a little bit before 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we do have another show that comes on right after us. So you definitely want to make sure that you stick around. In closing, again, part of this is providing a platform so people are able to better engage, be aware, and things along those lines. The people that we bring on here, number one, are just good character people. But number two, they're doing some great things. And so take that next step and engage with the people that are here. Not only just me. I mean, trust me, I love to engage with you. But things are bigger than just the individuals, that are here. Take time to engage, support, encourage. And not only that, when people make the commentary that there aren't people doing something, this is what makes this show so important and what makes the work of everybody that much greater. So to both Ms. Chambers and Ms. Boyd, thank you for taking the time being out here. I know it was an adventure getting here, but you know what? I tell you what, I hope you've been made to feel welcome, feel at ease.
Yes.
This is your first time, but hopefully it won't be the last time.
No, I definitely want to come back. You're stuck with me now.
Yeah, if he invites us back, we'll be
so we're going to go ahead, since it's about that time. Again, thank you, each and every one of you viewing on the Status Network. Make sure, as a reminder, to download the app. It's a free app on your smartphone, so make sure to download the Status Network app. Our show airs on the Lyve TV channel, but remember, there are multiple channels, multiple radio stations. We've got some powerful things going on here with the Status Network family, so we want you to take full advantage of it. Not only the social media streams, but again, for me, your host, author Andrew Snorton, get a hold of me at Facebook, author Andrew Snorton, Instagram, Twitter, author A Snorton. And on that programming note, we're going to get ready to draw this to a close. We thank our guests. We thank our awesome staff making it happen.
Yes,
really good time.
And as we ride out to that wonderful instrumental, I had to get something from up top so my folks from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut know what I'm talking about. We're going to go ahead and draw this to a close. Thank you. Our next show will air November the 28th at 7 p.m. So again, tune in to the Status Network, Lyve TV. This is the Conversation Corner with your host, author Andrew Snorton. Until next time, take good care. Remember, let's have a conversation.